20 years.
And you're all settled over in Tokyo, I believe.
I've been living in Tokyo for the past 18 to 20 years, basically.
With a lovely wife and 3 gorgeous children, I'm told.
Yes. I was just back in Ireland there about 3 weeks ago at my sister's wedding. So it was nice to come back to Japan with earthquake.
To an earthquake, yeah. Where were you when it struck, Leo?
Well, we're in Yokohama, which is about south of Tokyo. So we're in at work about 2:40. So on Tuesday, Wednesday before that, there was an earthquake about 5 or 6, and the building shook a lot. So we're saying that was a big earthquake. And then we were in our office on Friday about 2:40, and basically the building shook. So everyone in our office basically looked at the next building because there's construction work and they're taking down scaffolding, these 2 guys. So we looked at them and says, wow, they're in a dangerous situation. And then suddenly after about 30 seconds, we realized we're in a dangerous situation. So it's very scary. So it is.
Yeah.
So we basically, 2 minutes of shaking the building, we jumped under the tables, everything, and then we ran out of the building for about, after 5 minutes, or 4 or 5 minutes.
Are you working with Japanese?
Japanese, American, Taiwanese companies, so basically.
All in the one.
But all our staff are Japanese, except me.
You know, when we were watching it on the news over the weekend, it was huge skyscraper buildings. Is that something that you were working in?
Yeah, our building is about 14 stories. So my friend's building is sometimes like 20 or 30, about 27 stories. So in the case of our building, how do you describe the building shaking? It's like you have to get away from the window because you think you're going to fall out the window, because it's, I would say, shaking so much that you feel like you're going to fall out the window. It's the buildings are built to shake so much, so they're shaking a lot. But in 20 years, this is the biggest shake, you could say. But we're about 200, 300 kilometers from the epicenter, so we're still shaking an awful lot.
Do you have family and friends in Tokyo or in any part of Japan now that are missing or on the missing lists?
Well, no, we actually on Facebook, one of the friends, his wife's family lived up there, and he found out just today that his brother-in-law and his mother is safe, according to this Facebook.
Thank God.
So we usually talk on Facebook to each other, so they put up comments, etc.
Yeah, I noticed this as well, just reading reports, listening to the radio and television, that Facebook is really how everybody stayed in touch with each other, probably because the mobile phone system went down.
Yeah, I was talking on 10 seconds on Facebook while I could not talk inside Japan. I was talking on Skype to my sister in Ireland before I could talk to my family at all. So Facebook and Skype for international is very good. Local and also friends in Tokyo would put on these things as well. So we were watching each other on Facebook.
Leo, when you were at work, your wife and your children would have been somewhere else. Were your kids probably at school?
They were coming back from school, I think. They were basically walking in the door and the earthquake happened. So basically they jumped under a table, and from what I gathered, it was like everyone's coming back from school. So it's at 2:40, which is the school time for coming home. So they're basically, Japanese children are very used to earthquake. They're trained to jump under a table. So they're told to jump under a table. So the day before, they actually had training in the school to jump under tables. So the actual headmistress says we could have an earthquake tomorrow, and it actually happened the next day, the big earthquake. So on Thursday, they had training for earthquakes, and then on Friday, they got the experience in. So they know how to jump under tables, etc.
A very calm disposition, almost, isn't it? You know, kind of.
They're more calm than, say, foreigners. Japanese are more used to it, but in a sense, they know what to do, while foreigners wouldn't know. So for me, we enjoy it. Being an Irish person, we think it's fun from the building swaying, and then when it goes out of control, you go, oh. So it's a bit different for Irish people. We think at the beginning, the first experience of an earthquake in Japan, we say, oh, this is a great experience.
It'll be over in a minute.
It'll be over in 10 seconds or something like that, and we're just laughing. But over the years, like I've been through the Kobe earthquake, etc., they were nothing compared to this earthquake. You just laugh at the beginning, like, because it's a nervous laugh, but you're laughing. And then everyone says, wow, get under the table. So everyone in my office says it's the first time they ever jumped under a table. So in their 30 or 50 years experience. So all the Japanese say this is one of the worst earthquakes in Tokyo that they ever had, even though it's not that busy.
For you, it must have been, you're there on your own and you have the initial panic. God, what do I do? I'm under the table now. And then you start to think of, well, gee, my wife and my kids are probably at home. I hope they're okay. You're torn, like, I'm frozen here. There's nothing I can do to help them. But like, what runs through your head?
Well, the Japanese initially were all on the table, so we had to shout at them to get out. So we were shouting at them to get out, basically get out, like, and so we were going down 8 floors and everyone's jumping. And then you walk outside. So we were outside for maybe half an hour, and the whole ground is shaking. It's shaking in the building, and you think it's bad. You know it's a bad earthquake. But when you're outside in the grass area, it's shaking a lot as well. So you're actually on the ground floor in grass area, and you're still shaking. You know the ground is shaking like hell in the aftershock. So you know it's a 7 or 8. So then you're going like, okay, I can talk through wireless to Ireland. Okay, now I have to make my way home. But there's no trains.
Oh.
So you have to walk.
And it was a long walk, I believe, for people. Leah, can I just ask you, we're hearing a lot now this morning about possible issues with nuclear power plants. Are you and are people that you know concerned about that situation?
We, as long term, we're watching more the engineering side. So we know the meltdown is cooling down. So we know that the explosion will not get so far. It's about 300 kilometers from Yokohama, Tokyo. So we're more relaxed. What we're worried about is there's a prediction this week that there's going to be another 7-point-something earthquake this week and a 6.5 or 6 next week. So they're actually saying the aftershocks are going to get worse. So right now we're looking at it and saying, okay, what is our evacuation plan? So we will say we move down south to Japan, but we're thinking of it that way, but we're not actually thinking evacuation, going to the local airport to get out or anything like that. We think the meltdown will not, it'll be like 3 Mile Island, but it won't explode into the air and come down to Tokyo as much. We hope. We don't know, but we hope.
Leo, thank you very much for taking the call all the way over in Tokyo from us this morning.
Okay, pleasure.
Thank you, and keep safe.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. That's Leo Glynn there from Mullingar, but who's living with his wife and children in Tokyo. We're now joined by Professor Andrew Sherry, who's the director of the Dalton Nuclear Institute in Manchester, England. Good morning to you, Professor.
Good morning.
Professor, what can you tell us? I know that Leo there was saying that at the moment they're not actually really worried about the situation at the nuclear plants. They're more worried about future earthquakes. But from your point of view, that's where you'd really be focusing in on. What do you think is happening at the moment?
Well, from my reading of the situation, the reactors that we've been observing, I mean, structurally, actually, despite the hydrogen explosions that we've observed, structurally, the reactors, the reactor containment, the pressure vessel seem to be completely intact. I mean, these reactors are designed to withstand earthquake loadings. What we've seen over the last few days has been the biggest loading of any nuclear power station ever before. And structurally, the reactors have done exactly what they were designed to do. The challenge really has been what happened with the tsunami, which took out the diesel generators, which led to problems in terms of cooling the core. And cooling the core is absolutely essential. As the core heats up, you start to generate larger quantities of hydrogen and steam. That increases the pressure within the primary circuit, and that pressure is vented. And we've seen, over the last few days, them venting the steam and hydrogen. That's led to a slight increase in background radiation levels, but only a very slight increase. But they've had to now use seawater as a sort of mechanism to cool the cores. And my understanding is that seems to be working. And as every hour goes by, as every day goes by, actually the reactor's becoming safer and safer.
What about the news that we're hearing that, they have the 20-mile radius around the nuclear plants, but now that the Pentagon say that they could pick up radiation 80 kilometres away?
Yes. Well, this is low levels of radiation and an increase from the background level of radiation. I think it's useful to understand that wherever you are in the world, there is background radiation from a variety of sources. The background radiation in that area is very, very low compared with some parts of the world where it's much higher. Cornwall, for example, is an area in the UK where you have higher levels of background radiation. Now, what they're picking up is an increase in the radiation level relative to that background level. And my understanding is it's peaked about 8 to 10 times the background, which really is no major cause for concern. I think if we had a serious breach of the containment, we will be seeing far, far higher levels of radiation that are currently being picked up.
I know we're all probably concerned about a Chernobyl-like event. Do you think that that's a possibility?
Well, these are very, very different reactor systems to Chernobyl. I think it's highly, highly unlikely. I mean, they've been really the reactor operators have been following the reactor progress by the book. They've had some very difficult circumstances, particularly with the diesel generators being taken out by the tsunami and the backup power, being an issue. I mean, I think there are going to be lessons that we learn from this dramatic event that will be fed back into the safety of nuclear power plants around the world.
Professor, well, thank you very much for taking our call this morning. It really is, I think, a waiting game, though, for most people.
Yes, I think so, but I think the longer time goes on, the decay heat is dying away and the safer the reactors will become.
Well, Professor, thanks again for taking the call this morning.
Thank you.
That's Professor Andrew Sherry there, who's the director of the Dalton Nuclear Institute in Manchester in England.